Thank you for joining us here at Jenson USA. I'm Kyle here, and what I want to talk to you about today is the new 2023 Norco Fluid. Let's jump into this and we'll do a little bit deep dive on this guy. This is the Fluid 1. This is the top of the line fluid that they offer. This is a new release for 2023. Full new platform of this bike. It actually goes up in travel this year 10 millimeters. So it goes up to a 140 in the front and a 130 in the rear. While we go through this bike itself, I do want to point out some of the stuff that that Norco does on this, I'm going to call price point or more entry-level price point aluminum frame. When I say that, I mean it only into the fashion that it is really a price point to get into. No way would I say this is a frame that a guy that's been riding their whole life and really is a bike guy and lives, breathes, mountain bike riding, can really get onto this and really enjoy it just as much as your newer rider. I mean, we have a range from this that ranges from about $39.99, so just sub $4,000 on the FS1, all the way down to $23.99 on the FS4, all sharing the same frame on this, and all the same highlights that you would get through this bike. Again, really do like the fit finish on this bike. It's very much like a boutique bike at a price-conscious price point. Norco's taken a lot of time and a lot of effort to really bring a bike to the market that is going to be price-conscious and get everyone on a Norco and enjoying the benefits of what Norco has to offer. They have what's called their ride-align system. It's also, not only is it just a function of their bikes of how they fit to each individual rider, but it also is a web-based, or you can pull up on your smartphone or tablet out at the trailhead, put in your height, your weight, some of your riding styles, and it'll actually get you set up right then and there. Obviously baseline, but pretty dialed on there, even from bar widths even there. So let's go ahead and we'll go take a deeper look at some of the highlights of this frame. What I really do like about this aluminum frame, again, is Norco's taken the time and the effort to actually polish out the welds on the main junction points of this frame. And what that does is give you a very clean look to it. Almost looks carbon from a far distance or so. And the paint on each model is actually, it's top notch. It's, I've not seen too much nicer frame paint colors and stuff that you'll see all the way through it. Really dig this. And again, this is the higher model on this, and it's still price point that I think that getting into the sport that's still affordable. This is going to have your full XT type of build on it. A little bit different with what most of these fluids are coming with are TRP brakes. Fox 34 on this bike itself with the Grip 2 dampener that's on this one as well. Again, going back to that ride-align a little bit, what Norco has done with this bike on a price-conscious aluminum frame is pretty different. You see this on their higher carbon stuff. What they have done is actually made chainstay and fit production on this size specific. So your seat tube angle is actually going to start getting a little bit steeper the larger the frame is, as well as the physical chainstays actually grow in length due to the longer wheelbase, and each individual that's riding this bike has relatively the same riding characteristics if you're on a small all the way to a double extra large. So they actually come in 5 physical sizes on this bike, ranging from a rider that can be 5'1" all the way to 6'7" that can actually have a new fluid into their own size. And again, so that ride-align's pretty cool and pretty unique through this, especially at this price point. What's pretty cool is we have, this again is the Fluid FS1, where I really think the bang for the buck is on the FS2. The FS2 is going to come, again, with the same frame. It still runs the Fox float rear shock, but it's using a Marzocchi Z2 in the front, and it's a mixture of SLX and XT components, and that's gonna put you in a price range of about $31.49. So that's where I'm gonna feel is the sweet spot where this bike is. What's sort of cool is we have one of those coming in. We're going to do a longer term review on that and sort of see where we like with that and maybe do some upgrades and really make that bike our own. But while we get through this again a little bit more deeper on this bike, you'll see some of that characteristics of again, that ride align and some of the high specs that you're going to get on this at that price point. So I know here at Jenson we get asked quite a bit, so is this just aluminum optic? No, by no means is this just aluminum optic. It really does sort of have those numbers and characteristics that you see on paper. But what Norco really has done with this bike, again, it's brought that travel up to that 140, 130, and each shock is actually tuned specifically for this frame as well. And not only that, but the physical frame material itself goes up in strength the larger the frame is. So you do have a difference of compliance through a extra large to a small, has a little bit different riding characteristics because realistically, obviously, we're gonna differ in weight to the size of the rider on there. But with that shock tune, it's gonna give a much nicer ride characteristic. What they've done with this in the kinematics and the curvature of this, comparable to like what the Optic is they've actually have made this a little bit more progressive suspension platform out of this. So it's still giving you a pretty nice riding characteristics on smaller bump sensitivity, but it's not feeling like you don't have to put so much air volume spacers in this. It's really built into the physical suspension layout more so than relying on the shock itself. So a lot of tunability in there, and they've done a lot of work onto that as well to be able to get the ride characteristics that they're looking for. So if you're looking at those two bikes and you're like, oh, it's a aluminum version, this is going to give you a much more trail-oriented ride, a much more comfortable ride for your everyday rider that's going to go out there. The Optic, again, is a sweet bike. It is super fast, but it is I'd call it a little bit more on the twitchier side, or is going to be a little bit of a firmer all the way through, while this is going to have a little bit more trail characteristics. This really fits that little bit in spot between like where you would have the Sight and the Optic, sort of like that middle ground. And then where I would say like your guy that's sort of looking at this bike at other bikes or so, characteristic wise and what you really like about it, I'd put this up into the characteristics of sort of what an Ibis Ripmo AF would be. A little bit different, obviously, in that platform. I think this bike actually climbs a little bit better on the physical, rougher terrain. Obviously, downhill, I think it's a much smoother bike. The Ibis Ripmo AF and or Ripley AF are going to have a little bit stiffer platform through there. Maybe climb on flat platforms or flat terrain a little bit more if you're just doing a stay and fire road climbs and stuff. But the active suspension on this really does keep that tire planted to the ground, giving you much better traction through those aspects of it. So again, everything out there is so great right this second, but this bike, what Norco has really done with this is something pretty awesome at this package and this price point to be able to get into this. Bringing a bike that's going to ride and function for every skill level, from your experts all the way to your beginners, and there's everything in between. That's why we really like this bike here from Norco for 2023. And if you have any questions on this bike or any other bikes, our gear advisors love to talk bikes. Appreciate it, and keep pedaling.